Hello, I'm Roger Holzberg. I'm a father, a cancer survivor, a two-time cancer caregiver, the co-founder of Reimagine Well, and a former Disney Imagineer. And I'm here to share with you a snapshot about being at the intersection of Imagineering and medicine. At Imagineering, we practiced the discipline of what Uncle Walt coined, the architecture of reassurance at our Disney theme parks worldwide. And for the last 3 years, we've been adapting that architecture of reassurance into an architecture of healing. My story starts about 40 plus years ago. Sunday night, I used to watch The Wonderful World of Disney with my best friend who lived about a block away. His name was Stuart, and when we were 14, he was diagnosed with a very aggressive and terminal adolescent cancer. Our healthcare professional dads got together and decided that my job as one of his caregivers was to tell him that the treatment was going to be really hard, but of course he was going to get better and everything was going to be okay. And after 6 months of telling him that story one afternoon, he said, "Stop lying to me. I know I'm going to die, and I need you to tell me the truth." 2 weeks later, he was gone. A little over a decade later, as the oldest child of a divorced family, when my mom was terminal with cancer and she went into a coma, I was in my 20s and I made her end-of-life decisions in a time when there was no hospice care. Those end-of-life decisions included turning the valve that put her at peace. One in 2 American men and 1 in 3 American women will be diagnosed with cancer in the course of their lifetime. After my mom passed, my physician dad said, "So now you're going to go into medicine, right? You're going to help fix this cancer experience problem." There we go. To which I said, "Go into medicine? What are you kidding? I'm going to art school." And so I did. I was lucky to graduate from the California Institute of the Arts, and a little after a decade beyond that, I had my dream job working for Walt Disney Imagineering. What is it that Imagineers do? We combine imagination with engineering. I got to build an attraction with a free-swimming animatronic dolphin in an island in the Caribbean, right? I got to design an icon and build an icon to herald in the new millennium that we're now living in. I got to build a project called Virtual Magic Kingdom, where we had 5.5 million kids in a virtual Disneyland playing in real time with kids in real Disney theme parks in brick and mortar places around the world. And on the eve of my 50th birthday, I got to hear those 3 words: "You have cancer." I call it the terror moment. Time stops. Your world becomes a rush of white noise. You go into shock. There's a doctor sitting across a table from you saying words that you know you're supposed to hear, but it's a language you don't understand. I think I was in shock for probably 2 weeks. And then I pulled together my most trusted team, and my stepmom, who was also a survivor, gave me a piece of wisdom that has now been integrated into my life. She said, "Think about what you have to deal with right now. This is a journey. You're at the very beginning." A light bulb went off. Right. Focus. Okay, there's diagnosis, treatment, healing, well-being. Let all the rest of it go. Right now, you've got to set goals for the diagnosis phase of your journey. Oh yeah, it's a journey. It's structured. That foundational learning about setting goals in each phase became the basis for what was a program that we supported patients with called My Bridge for Life. I pulled together a team of caregivers and survivors at the Walt Disney Company, and we launched that as a platform, and suddenly, before we knew it, thousands of people were using it. We became this sort of cancer volunteer hit squad. We redid the lobby for Children's Hospital of Los Angeles and consulted on the design of some of the rooms. We did the media, the Living With stories for the launch of Livestrong.com, and suddenly all of that activity got me recruited to be the first creative director at the National Cancer Institute. So my two favorite IDs that I've ever had for employment are on screen: NIH and Walt Disney Imagineering. We redid the evolution of cancer.gov, which is still in place today, and while redoing the adolescent young adult part of it, I met the guy who I call the Bono of pediatric cancer, Dr. Leonard Sender. And he said, I've got this problem. Will you get some of your Disney Imagineers and come to Children's Hospital of Orange County? And I said, sure. What's the problem? He says, pediatric patients, adolescent, young adult patients, they get depressed. They get lonely. And loneliness and depression and anxiety, when you mix it with chemotherapy, does not have good outcomes. So I don't know, maybe you guys, we can work on this together. So we did a brainstorm. And at the end of the day, I said, Lenny, let me go out to 20 of your families with a survey. What's the survey? One question. If you could get your treatment anywhere in the universe and there were absolutely no rules, what place would best heal you? We've been asking that question for 3 years. Never once has a patient come back and said, the place that would best heal me, my super special healing place, is a hospital. So we go out with that question all the time. And what does the architecture of healing look like? Well, we've had the opportunity to build 12 what we call infusionariums. And these are places where patients come together as their patient vision teams. We pair those vision teams with media makers in grad schools in their communities, and together they create their immersive healing places. We never tell them where we think their healing places should be, because as it turns out, our special healing places are as individualized as our taste in music. And when they are getting their chemo in these places, they're empowered, because they are impacting their treatment. You've heard a lot during this conference about how a patient gets diagnosed and your power gets stripped away from you. You're told where to go, when, how many times you're going to get poked, what's going to get drawn, how long you're going to sit in that chair and get that radiation. And your own story of healing becomes core to your journey. What do patients look like when they're in their healing places? Well, you're seeing some of them here, but I'd like you to hear from them what it feels like to be treated in your own personal place in an infusionarium.
We sent a survey to all of our patients and asked, if you could heal anywhere in the universe, where would you choose to heal? What is your special healing place?
I forgot about my troubles, my life struggles, and water became my life, my strength, and my healing place.
I always dream about the mountains, and this is my healing place.
When you're visiting a peace pagoda, no matter what faith you believe in, you're always going to find a healing place because it helps you find that inner hope and inner strength that you really need.
My name is Trevor, and I think the world of the future would definitely be healing, because in the future I might not have to have these things if I had cancer. Treatment might be much more like quick, efficient, and easier on us.
If I fly, I can see all the traffic, and I can fly past the traffic and never get caught. Would it be cool if I could fly with my family, because it will be a happy thing for all of us to fly?
You would have to. Oh, come on, just strap on.
So can I tell you, I didn't even know what a Peace Pagoda was before that adolescent patient team came back and said, we want to get our chemo in Peace Pagodas around the world. And flying free, I'm not sure that would have worked for me, but it's working for them. Now, patients are one part of the story. Caregivers and providers are another part of the story. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about what the providers think treating their patients and what the parents think seeing their kids in infusionariums feels like.
My son is Nikolai Greco. He's being treated here at Chalk for ALL leukemia. The Infusionarium, we live in here.
My name is Heather Hawthorne. I'm one of the pediatric, adolescent, and young adult oncologists here at Chalk. The Infusionarium has really been this magical addition for our patients here. It's been magical because it allows them to experience things that they would not be able to experience during their cancer treatment.
Or you could just call me Moo. And I'm a planetary protection engineer here at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Real title, see? Planetary protection engineer. I didn't make it up.
Card.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
A doctor, an engineer, an engineer.
Here. Wow. You guys can start your own space exploration team.
Hi.
Under the Learn tab, our patients and families can visit the Infusionarium to access our ebooks, to watch educational videos that will teach them more about their hospital, their treatment, and their survivorship.
We didn't know what to expect. We found out a lot of answers about simple things like where to park and about the test our daughter needed to have. Even about who all these doctors and nurses were.
I'm one of the oncology social workers. As a clinical nurse on this unit, we help coordinate.
That we are here for not only your child, but your entire family.
The infusions sometimes lasted for more than 8 hours, and during that time I got to learn about some of the things we need to do after treatment ends. The ebook is now with us at home on our computer and my phone.
The most important thing that I would say to a parent and their child after the 5-year mark is to be encouraged and keep going.
Under Community, our patients can access a very private support network where they can connect with one another and continue to support each other.
The most amazing thing I've noticed is the consistency among patients not experiencing the side effects of chemotherapy, whether that's nausea, abdominal pain, vomiting. They've consistently been able to come in here and not have any side effects.
So, we realized pretty quickly that diagnosis and treatment is a pretty critical part that's done pretty well by our hospitals here. I know that for me as a patient, after treatment, I felt like I kind of got drop-kicked out the door with a, hey, here's some photocopied paper in your hand and see you later, don't come back and talk to us anymore because, well, we can't bill you while you're well, so come back when you're sick and we can help you again then. So we expanded the Infusionarium platform, as you saw, to go home with patients, and their original care team then gets to help them continue to set their health and wellness goals when they're in the healing and well-being parts of the patient journey. And we've found that patients go back and they love to hear from people who they know, they trust, and in many cases they love 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So, we've treated probably more than 10,000 patients in sessions where they've gotten their chemo in infusionariums over the last 3 years. We've done a bit of research on our own and a fair amount of lit review, and what have we learned? What about personalization and self-empowerment? It turns out that, in fact, a self-declared optimistic patient versus a self-declared pessimistic patient in the cancer world has a higher 5-year survivorship ratio. It also turns out that mindfulness actually really does matter. Enhanced education and post-treatment support, not only is it a valuable thing, it in fact reduces readmission and reduces recurrence. Distraction therapy, what you would think of as virtual reality, that's essentially what we think of as what we do. When it's directed by a patient, it becomes more compelling to that patient. But distraction therapy, whether it is delivered via a screen or a head mount display or a computer monitor, or there are a couple of hospitals where we actually just go into the rooms via smart TVs, has the same effect. And as that nurse said, the reduction of side effects meds is one of those effects. And community, yes, has its great value. So I want to close by asking all of you a question. When you or someone you care about gets diagnosed with cancer, where will you choose to heal? Thanks for your time.